Well, good morning, Rock of Ages. Today we are going to be looking at the first commandment, which is do not have any other gods before me. And we're going to be seeing idolatry. So we're going to look in here mainly at Exodus 32, but also a few other passages where we see an expansive view and understanding of what idolatry is. Okay, so let us read here. Exodus 32:1. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered to Aaron. Aaron's the priest at this time, the high priest. You could think he's the chief pastor there, and said to him, "Come, make us gods." This is interesting, just to note. God, whenever it's spelled, is spelled in plural, so this could be make a god or make gods, but either way, there's some debate in here. But that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, Break off the gold earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people broke off the gold earrings which were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand. And he fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made a molded calf. Then they said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. This is a very wow statement. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Okay, let's just talk about this text first. Okay, a lot of interesting things coming on here. First, what's happening here is a particular kind of idolatry. There's debate about exactly what's happening here, and if they're actually trying to make Yahweh. I kind of lean on the fact that at least Aaron is doing that, because he says, like, let's have a feast for the Lord, and so he's still seeing this as true worship. But what they're doing is they're kind of making their own worship and their own way, an idea of how they should worship, and this is leading them down a very dark path, right, as they start to build an idol and worship before that idol. I think in some ways they're still thinking of the God that saved them. They just don't know where he is, and they want to kind of make themselves gods, right, to kind of have this God that they can carry around, that they can possess, that they can tell what to do. They don't like how the Lord is dealing with them, and so they want to just make their own God and fashion God in their own image, in a sense, or in their own way. Right, we see this singular God here being used, and this clearly, right, this is the thing that God has done, the true God, and they're assigning it to this calf. Of course, I think they would understand it to be more than just the golden calf they've made, but what they're really doing is they're creating a worship that is not allowed by the Lord, as he specifically said, do not make an image, because you saw no image. And then they're doing all sorts of activities that are not really normal. I mean, they're offering offerings, but here they're maybe acting a bit without reverence before the Lord. We see when the Lord wants worship, he calls for reverence and care as you come before the Lord. So this is really, really important to see how they're turning away. Now, we can understand more to idolatry than just making an idol, even an idol, an image of the one true God. And we could get into how, now that Jesus has come and taken on the form of human flesh, like there is room for depicting him as such, because this is a great change in the world. And before, he had not revealed himself in an image, he had not shown himself, but now God has truly shown himself. But that's a whole debate for another time, and not too important for us. Colossians 3:5, here we see idolatry. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth: fornication, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, or greed, right, which is idolatry, right? I think this is specifically talking about greed as idolatry. And we see this quite often. Well, the next passage we see the same thing, right? Matthew 6:19, do not lay up treasure for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And then just a little bit down, I skipped a part about the light of your eye. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he'll be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. And this is kind of a pretty big theme in the scriptures. And I think, and I'll be careful here, I think sometimes because of the American church, and I think Canadians have the same problem. It probably comes even from Great Britain. We were not so clear to see this danger of greed as idolatry, as accumulating wealth to yourself as wickedness, and to see not that being wealthy, we have to be different. Wealthy is not wicked. I'll say that for my American friends, not wicked, but the accumulation and greedy taking of wealth for yourself and your own benefit and just seeking after those things is indeed wicked, and so it's a pretty fine line. And so we need to be careful that we are not serving money, that we are not wandering after mammon, right? Because that is a type of idolatry, and what we can really get to is that all sorts of things are idolatry when we're not looking towards the one true God for our hope, and when we're thinking that we can lay up treasures here, and that's what we're hoping for. Anyway, we'll look in our Catechism now and take a look here at what it says. So, the first table of the law. What is the first table of the law, and what does it teach? The first table of the law consists of the first 3 commandments. These teach us to love God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and all your soul, and all your strength, and all your mind. And so here we have the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Exodus 20, verse 3. What does this mean? This means that we are to fear, love, and trust God above anything else. What does God forbid in the first commandment? In the first commandment, God forbids me to put anyone or anything ahead of him. What do human beings sometimes worship instead of the one true God? They sometimes worship images made of wood and stone. 2, they created things such as the sun, moon, and stars. 3, anyone or anything placed ahead of the one true God. And this is where we'd get money, even your nation. Lots of things can become idolatrous, where you trust in something above God. Romans 1:21-23. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being, birds, animals, and reptiles. Right, and here we get that kind of idolatry of creating images, when God said, "Do not create images." Anyway, so there's our catechism for today, and I hope you're blessed by it.